Godzilla Raids Again. Oh boy. The very first Godzilla sequel, and the first time Godzilla ever fought another monster on screen. Okay, let's break it down. This is a film not directed by Ishiro Honda, but by one Moriyoshi Oda, who from what I've heard wasn't very interested in making monster movies, but due to Honda working on Love Tide, Oda was brought along to direct, seeing as Tomiyuki Tanaka didn't want to wait for Honda, fearing they'd lose the momentum from the first film. Regardless of how you look at it, it's clear this film wasn't made to be an artistic endeavor like the first. It's a definition of riding the coattails of the predecessor. How can you tell? Well, this film was hard to analyze due to the fact that unlike the first film, there isn't really much to analyze to begin with. The story is simple. After an emergency landing on an island, two pilots discover the existence of a new Godzilla and a totally new monster, Anguirus. They have a bone to pick with each other, and it's up to Japan to keep the coastline safe from the two monsters duking it out. The earnest, well-written characters with personalities from the last film are a distant memory, as no one in Godzilla Raids Again is even remotely memorable. I can't even remember their names. Midway through the film, I realized this, but didn't feel bad about it. I felt like I had nothing to lose in any capacity if I didn't take note of who these characters actually are, which speaks volumes on how unfortunately barren this script is. The film has a big problem with tone overall. It seems to want to have the grim atmosphere of the first, but lacks any of the character drama or thematic edge of the original. So what you're watching feels like a half-baked continuation of a film you wish you were watching. The only character to make it back from the first is Dr. Yamane, which in my opinion is one of the best parts of the movie, mainly because of the authenticity in the performance by Takashi Shimura. Due to the past events of the original Godzilla's rampage and the death of Dr. Serizawa, it's visually communicated through Yamane's closed-off and stilted demeanor that he was traumatized by what had to happen, less than a year before. It's clear that Yamane simply isn't the same man, a shell of his former passionate self. A man changed forever by the horrifying events that took place, which you can tell was intentional.
しかし先生、そのゴジラを一挙に抹殺したという。
そうです。オキシエンデストロイヤー。あのゴジラを一瞬にして東京湾の海底に葬り去ったオキシエンデストロイヤーも、その発明者芹沢博士と共に今はなく、ゴジラ抹殺の手段は絶望と申すより仕方がないのであります。
But aside from a few other scenes, I don't find the overall product to be very interesting. The first act starts out okay, but it slowly but surely goes on and on without having any real substance to latch onto, besides Godzilla scenes. And even they aren't the most gripping here. Takeo Murata worked on the screenplay, but clearly the writing team helping him with said script kind of fell off. Every interaction is generic family-friendly banter that doesn't amount to anything. It's the most uninspired and monotonous dialogue that you can hear coming from a movie, let alone a monster movie. This was something the original Godzilla strictly avoided. No conversations are had about the meaning of another Godzilla continuing to haunt Japan. No civilian perspectives like in the first. No general discussion is present regarding the true political, ecological, or social implications of radioactive beasts continuing to awaken after the first Godzilla's attack. Everyone takes it seriously, but the main character's perspectives on the situation is all we get, and nothing of real gravity is uttered on the subject. No one really cares that much about Godzilla specifically. There's not much here that can complement the original, or expand on the original, besides now adding the threat of new monsters that can appear anywhere due to nuclear tests. What if more Godzillas is a recurring problem? How will the economy be affected by such rapid destruction in such little time? What does this new Godzilla's presence and Anguirus tell us about world affairs in general? Is there political discussion between world powers about who's to blame for the nuclear blast continuing to awaken monsters? Is the awakening of said monsters an inevitability? A destructive way for nature to demonstrate its unpredictable dominion over humanity? Can humanity only watch as these animals make toys of the world's defenses and playgrounds of the world's cities? Or can this sudden surge of kaiju be stopped? What in God's sake do the people of Japan think of this now seemingly pathological threat? Nothing. It's just bleh. There's a lot of really cool ideas here that could be really awesome if they were fleshed out, like maybe have the public go into a panic or have victims of the last attack have PTSD, stuff like that. But no, instead we have a bare-bones plot that is only there to give Godzilla a reason to attack again, with Anguirus just kind of being there. He gets killed like 60% in, which is kind of anticlimactic. Speaking of anticlimactic, the entire movie just has a lot of pacing issues. First, the scene goes by steadily, but then we have long-winded scenes of people that we don't give a shit about talking about bullshit. A minutes-long subplot about prisoners escaping from the police that comes out of nowhere as an excuse to move the plot, which I actually found a little fun. Then monsters attack, then they fuck up Osaka for a while, and Anguirus gets mutilated, then BAM!
Bam!
It hits you. There's still 30 fucking minutes left. And you're like, what more can they show? And then it's God knows how long of human banter that amounts to fucking nothing. Godzilla's back, what? And then a long-winded, uninteresting assault on Godzilla on an island. It's very inconsistent. There's a 2-minute uninterrupted clip show of the last movie in the first 20 minutes, and it's silent, by the way. There's a few things I like though. Godzilla and Anguirus scenes are really fun. I wouldn't say good, but they're pretty amusing to watch. And there's a few subtle moments of actual filmmaking I really like here. For instance, this woman quietly looking at the destruction in the distance. And a few other shots here and there. Godzilla was slimmed down here so he can take on Anguirus. He looks pretty scary, but I don't know if that was intentional. It just looks unnerving half the time. It's just creepy. Anguirus isn't much better, but they're shot pretty well most of the time. And the effects from AG Superaya are just like always, really good. Nothing feels more satisfying than practical buildings crumbling. There's this weird thing where the frame rate is cranked up or sped up, which makes the monsters move really fast, which is a main complaint for most people, but to me, I don't really care. As long as it shows character and fun, I couldn't give a rat's ass about how, oh, they look silly. Like, it doesn't fucking matter how stupid they look. It's entertaining as hell. Even in this movie, even if we will see way better monster mashes in the future, it's still honestly fun to watch. They hold a candle to the original? Fuck no, but I enjoyed myself watching it, and that I can't really take away from the film. Yeah, there isn't much here. Besides an okay first 20 minutes, some cool shots, some fun fight scenes, and a genuinely unnerving and imposing version of Godzilla, I can't recommend this film to even the most rabid of kaiju fans. Its poor script, inconsistent pacing, bland as dust characters, and confused tone make it the unfortunately pretty mediocre bridge between the excellence of the original and the flashy, more focused Godzilla films of the 60s. It's utterly boring to watch, and I found myself distracted in the latter half of it. Godzilla Raids Again, regardless of its genuine highlights, simply can't hold its own, and is one I think you should only watch if you want to see where some important things got started. That is pretty rough. The worst sin a film can ever make is being boring.